very happy to have all of you here for this second webinar of our webinar series on campus ministry on the theme Building the Culture of Care on our campuses. And this webinar will focus on the competency of understanding in multi-faith chaplaincy. You all know that our Asian society is a pluralistic society, and we have students from different kinds of faith systems and no faith system. And faculty also, they are from different faith systems. And campus ministry, as campus ministers, we need to cater to the needs of students, irrespective of their religion, culture, and other backgrounds. And in that context, this competency of understanding becomes very vital and important. And we are very happy that Reverend Dr. Stefanus from Indonesia has agreed to lead us this webinar on this theme. And I'm sure that this will be very useful to all of us. And I welcome all of you to this webinar. A special word of welcome to the speaker, Reverend Dr. Stefanus.
Thank you.
Stefanus, we are very happy to have you with us today to lead this webinar. I also welcome our Vice President Wai-Ching and other colleagues from United Board, Dr. Mercy, Prayuka, Victoria, Sarah, and Koni. And they are behind the whole program that they work so that we have a wonderful webinar here. And without further delay, I will invite our colleague, Dr. Mercy Puspalada, to introduce the speaker of this day. Dr. Mercy.
Yes, sir. Thank you. Good morning, friends. It's my pleasure to introduce the esteemed guest, Reverend Dr. Stefanus Christian Haryono, who has agreed to be with us this morning and to enlighten us and lead us in this webinar on a very interesting topic. That's the competency of understanding in multi-faith chaplaincy. Dr. Stefanus is the director of the Center for the Study of Spirituality and Spiritual Formation at Universitas Kristen Datawacana, Indonesia, and he has served as the university chaplain for 6 years. When I went through his biodata, there were some of the very interesting informations which I wish to share with you. He acquired his PhD in spirituality from Claremont School of Theology, California, USA, and his title goes like this. That's what attracted me. The Interspirituality of Mother Teresa and Ki Angan Surya Mantaram. I don't know how far I'm right in the pronunciation.
Okay.
A dialectical study of mystical contemplation and transformative service. And also he had his Master of Arts in Christian Formation in Spiritual Formation from Anabaptist Mennonite Biblical Seminary, Indiana, USA. And the two of his recent publications also seem to have very interesting topics. One is on mystical prophetic spirituality. The other one is on vocational spirituality. So friends, I think we have the most apt person in our midst this morning as the resource person who can lead us in this understanding of the multi-faith chaplaincy. So I welcome Dr. Stefanus to lead us.
You.
Over to Dr. Stefanus.
Okay. Good morning, everyone, and especially good morning, Spurgeon, Dr. Mercy, and Wai-Ching. Thank you for this opportunity. And I think this is good to see all of you through this Zooms this morning. And once again, thank you very much to United Board for these events. And let's start our webinar. I would like to share my PowerPoint. Can you see my PowerPoint? Okay. Yes. Yeah. I would like to ask on the themes in which the focus of the theme is multi-faith chaplaincy. I think all of us are very familiar with the chaplaincy And I know that United Board has a big concern on that. But when we talk about multi-faith chaplaincy, I think it is not quite familiar in Asia. If I try to look at in the US, for example, some seminaries or some school theology, they have a master degree program on interfaith chaplaincy, especially on MDiv program, Master of Divinity. And the students is come from many different faith traditions, you know, they become students in that program. But in Asia, and especially, for example, in Indonesia, I don't think that seminaries or school of theology or faculty of theology have a program, degree program, I mean, on multi-faith chaplaincy. For example, in my university, Faculty of Theology, Wacana, we don't have any degree program, you know, on interfaith chaplaincy. So I think this is a very challenging topics. So I would like to raise a questions. How do we approach this webinar theme? I think the point of view multi-faith chaplaincy is grounded in two theological perspectives. First is what is called post-colonial, and the second one is, I think, about spirituality. I would like to refer to Emmanuel Larty in his books, Post-Colonizing God. I think it's very interesting books. Larty raised 7 points of post-colonial theology. And from this webinar, I take 3 of 7 that he wrote in his books. He said that post-colonial theology promotes about equitability relationships between people. And in these relationships, there are no dominance or hegemony in human relationships. So they are equal. And then the second one, post-colonial theology promotes about the hybrid or mutual dimensional discourse and practices and how to accept a plurality in the relationships. And there are so many discourses. So there's no single discourse in post-colonial theology. And then the third one is about intersubjectivity. This is about how to engage, you know, interactively with all people's experience, with equality and respects. I think this is very important points, how to see behind your multi-faith chaplaincy. To know about our topics, I would like to ask all participants, you know, what is the most challenging of multi-faith chaplaincy in your campus? I believe that in your campuses, you have many programs on multi-faith chaplaincy, but I want to know, you know, how far the program in your campus. So please go to mentimeter.com, and then you can type okay, wait a minute. Oh, I'm sorry, I have to yep. Yes. Can you see? So please type the code on the top. So I want to know what's going on in our campuses. Is it work or not?
It says
second question. It is showing the second question instead. It is showing the second question instead of the first.
Oh,
Yeah.
this is my first questions. Can you see that or not?
What is the most challenging multi-faith chaplains in your
campus? This is my first questions.
Okay.
There's a box saying something went wrong. Reload.
Okay.
Try to reload.
Okay, I need to reload.
Yeah.
Maybe go back and present again.
Yeah. Okay. Can you see that or not?
Yes.
Yes. Yes, we can see the question.
And how to upload the results, because I have submitted mine and it's not showing.
Okay. Maybe I have to. Okay. Yes, please try again. Okay, that's for not yet exists. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, it goes off immediately.
Yeah.
Come on, coming up,
It's coming up.
Coming up. Yeah.
Good.
Good. Okay. Wow. Okay. Wonderful.
Wait.
Okay. Okay, we wait for a while, Okay. Religious radicalisms, yeah. No motivated chaplaincy, not applicable in school. Wow. Friendships. Okay, yeah, thank you very much for your answer from my first questions. Okay, still coming up. Wow, interesting. Okay, so thank you very much. I think the most answer is about tolerance. This is the most challenging, because this is a very big letters in there. And thank you so many perspective on that questions. And then I would like to raise my second questions. Yeah, this is okay. This is my second questions. What comes to your mind when you hear the word spirituality? Okay, God, way of life, faith, inner healings, inner strength, meaning and purpose, guiding, transcendence, relationship with God. Okay, still coming up. Inner strength, way of life, universal, supreme being. Okay, thank you very much for your answer to these questions. Okay, let's continue with my presentations. So when we talk about multi-faith chaplaincy, I think we have to understand what spirituality is, as I asked to all of you. So I would like to raise Sandra Snyder's, perspective about spirituality. Snyder's defines spirituality as the actualizations of the basic human capacity for transcendence, as experience of conscious involvement in the project of life integrations through self-transcendent toward the horizons of ultimate value when perceived. And then the second one, I would like to raise a perspective from Phil Sheldrick. He said that spirituality is a way of living publicly. What he means by living publicly is about a fundamental social existence where diversity is the common life. And spirituality can be practiced concretely through interactions and community buildings. So that means that living publicly is a spiritual way with ups and downs through safe and risky or unsafe situations. When we look at Snyder's and Sheldrick, so I think that both of them highlight that spirituality is lived experience. Spirituality is not a doctrine. Spirituality is not a set of religious practices. So what that means, lived experience? Lived experience recognize that human existence is embedded in a world of meaning, which not only needs to be described, but also to be interpreted. And then also lived experience takes place only in time and space, within particular contexts, like in Asia, in the United States, in Europe, including cultural and political. And then lived experience, that means it's about personally and communally. Now, all of this will create what they call authentic spirituality. And lived experience is very important basics. And the second one, spirituality is about the self. So spirituality is not about doctrine. Spirituality is about the self, about the self as whole subjects. That means a body, mind, and soul. And this is about the personhood that takes an important role through what it's called consciousness, self-consciousness or self-awareness. And spirituality, I think Snyder and Sheldrick also emphasize on life integrations. Spirituality is life integration. That means this is about the reality of life, about public space. And this is about here and now. This is not about the beyond the dead times, No, this is about here and now in this world. And spirituality is rooted in values. It's depends on what they name. The values can be faith or beliefs or wisdoms, whatever. And then the last ones, when we talk about spirituality, is about self-transcendence. I'm happy that once of you also, your answer is about transcendence. Spirituality is about self-transcendence, that someone can go beyond, beyond his or her own identity. And then when someone, try to self-transcendence in his life, and then spirituality itself is about way of life. I would like to give an example. This is self-transcendence. When Mother Teresa said that by blood, I am Albanian. By citizenships, I am an Indian. By faith, I am a Catholic nun. As to my calling, I belong to the world. As to my heart, I belong entirely to the heart of Jesus. This is an example of self-transcendence. This is about spirituality of Mother Teresa, and this is about the way of life. So I hope right now we more understand that when we talk about spirituality, it's not about doctrines, it's not about a set of spiritual practices, but it's about self-transcendent. This is about way of life. When we talk about multi-faith chaplaincy, so in my perspective, that multi-faith chaplaincy as spiritual formations, But what is spiritual formations? Henry Nouwen, described what spiritual formation is. Spiritual formation is about movement from the mind to the heart that reunited us with God, each other, and our truest selves. When we talk about the word of heart, what that means, when we look at in Jewish and Christian traditions, the heart is the center unifying organ of our personal life. That means that heart is the source of all physical, emotional, intellectual, free will, and moral energy. So when we talk about heart, it's not about feeling, not just about feeling, but it's about, about the source of all, all physical, emotional, intellectual, free will, and moral energy. And then also when we talk about the heart in Jewish and Christian traditions, the heart relates to good decision. So that is why the heart is very important in spiritual formations process. And then when we talk about spiritual formations is about an ongoing process of the heart, in community life, expressed in service to the world. So when we talk about multi-faith chaplaincy, it's about inevitability service of Christian universities and colleges in Asia. And multi-faith chaplaincy as peacemaking ministry should become fundamental contributions which is grounded in Christian spirituality. I saw that one of your answer when we talk about multi-faith chaplaincy, we talk about radicalisms. I think around the world, that's our challenge, when we talk about diversity, about multi-faith, we face about what they call anti-pluralisms. That's they are carry out, acts of violence towards humanity. And I think you read from the news about the latest tragedy was the suicide bomb explosions in the Catholic Cathedral at Makassar in Indonesia on Palm Sunday. And from the police investigations, the couple bombers are member of Jamaah Asrarut Daulah, which is a radical Islamic group. So we have to reflect on what Hans Kung said, he just passed away 10 days ago. He said that no word peace without peace between religions. So what is that means? That religions is not just bring about peace, but religions, can't, make some things, bad things in this world, especially about the violence. So when we talk about this one, we have to understand more about what is the difference between religions, religiosity, and spirituality. In this PowerPoint, I try to describe that when we talk about religions, this is like a bolt, in this lamp. So when we talk about religion, we talk basically about institution. We talk about a doctrine, whatever the doctrine, and then rules and practices. From the religions, we learned about knowing God. And then we know about the term religiosity. This is like the axis of the land. And this is about the beliefs, about religious feelings. And from the religiosity, you know, we learned about relationship with God, and we try to build our relationship with God through the religiosity. But the last one, when we talk about spirituality, is about the flame, you know. This is about a self-transcendence where borderless, you know, someone's not, you know, not just look at their own identity, but he tried to go beyond. And from this one, we learned about experiencing God. So I hope from this explanations, we know more about the difference between religions, religiosity, and spirituality. And then how to build multi-faith chaplaincy. So I would try to share opinion from perspective from Sherry Kujawa Holbrook. She said that faith communities, which actually encourage a plurality of voices, are sacred spaces, places where we can begin to find God beyond borders of our limited understandings about the divine and share and the stories of our companions, along with the way as we form partnership for the good of the world. I think from this perspective, Kujawa Holbrooks, this is like a hope how we build multi-faith chaplaincy, because through our colleges and universities, it has become a good community, you know, that we can build multi-faith chaplaincy. And we try to give a variety of voices. Because of spirituality is lived experience, so this is will be the ability to understand the life story becomes the core of competency multi-faith chaplaincy. So when we talk about multi-faith chaplaincy, what is the core? The core is life story itself. And Daniel Skipani, in his books Multi-Faith Views in Spiritual Care, he proposes three domains of capacities, what he calls knowing, being, and doing. And the three domains capacities is a way of understanding of human being as whole, you know, in which the self becomes subjects. So let's see what's the capacities. And he said that the practice of spiritual care always includes the possibility of visualizing how to relationship of caregiver, care receiver might contribute to the latest ongoing process of human emergence, that is personal growth understood as lifelong humanizations or becoming more human. I think from Daniel Skipani perspective, we learn that when we talk about spirituality, it's always connected with uh, how to become more human. Spirituality and humanity is not contradict, it's not opposite, but when we talk about more spiritual, it means more become more human. So from this point, he proposed three competency. The first one is the competency of knowing. The competency of knowing is the way of how to know, you know, the way of knowing the reality of life, ourselves and the world where we live. And in that process, we have to learn what's, you know, going on when we live in our reality in this world. And in this point, you know, the self as human wholeness is grounded in one faith tradition. So whatever, what's your faith traditions, but when we talk about knowing, about how to know the reality of life, we have to ground it in the faith traditions. And the competency of understanding, the competency of knowing, understanding of the mutual faith, complexities, dynamics, and richness, with appreciations for human and spiritual growth. That's mean in this competency, we have to be open to the diversity, life story of others. And maybe there are many complexity or dynamics, in their experience. And then I think this is the very important point in this competency of knowing. We have to be open and then re-examine the validity of certain absolute normative doctrinal claims, and then we try to, rediscovery of the core of spirituality for multi-faith chaplaincy. This is very important that we are, to be called to be, more open with so many different perspectives and try to re-examine, the doctrines. This is the first competency of knowing. And then the second one is about the competency of being. I think multi-faith chaplaincy involves a special sensitivity and self-awareness regarding one experiences in relationship with her or his identity, with others, and with God. I think the main point is about a self-awareness, with their experience. And then in the competency of being, respectful attending and listening, a capacity for wonder and respect, freedom to be vulnerable and open to learning and growth as a way of being with empathy and for sympathy others. So in this competency of being, we have to accept our vulnerability or others' vulnerability as a way, to listen and to know, others better with empathy and sympathy. And the third one is about valuing the process of spiritual growth, where the ability to embrace ambiguity and paradox of religions. I think this is very important, when we try to build a multi-faith chaplaincy, we have to embrace the ambiguity, because, and the ambiguity and the paradox of religions, because there is so many different perspectives in each religions. And the fourth one is said that the perfect spirituality is the ongoing process itself and not a certain state. I think this is a very important point when we talk about spirituality, because spirituality, the perfect spirituality is based on the ongoing process itself and not on the certain space. Okay, because I am a doctor in spirituality and then no, I have a perfect spirituality. No, not in that point. So the perfect, each of us is on the ongoing process, process. And the third competency is competency of doing. At this point, I think chaplains are responsible for attending to and guiding the process. I think this is the the most important responsibility for chaplains, and they have to be aware of what's going on in the formation process. And the second one, I think the competency of doing is engage to other spiritual resources. That means for the chaplains, they have to learn more about, the diversity of resources from many different faith traditions. This is very important because we will help, students from many different faith traditions, and they can grow, in their own traditions. And that's also the competency of doing is actively listen and discern to the process. So we have to, to be able, to attend and to be work with students, and how to listen, how to discern in this process. And the fourth one is about how to make a partnership with the ultimate one. So I think this is a very important term, the ultimate one, because this is very open term for God, through meditations and contemplations or other spiritual disciplines. I think when we talk about multi-faith chaplaincy, silence, contemplations is very important point, how to understand and how to work with other people in their own faith traditions. So Daniel Skipani called that the competency is what he called professional wisdoms about knowing, being, and doing, and the self itself in the core of this one. And this will help others. For example, for the knowing, this will help others how to know and how to discern their own vision. And when we talk about being, the competency of being, we will help others, students, they grow in their own virtue. And then when we talk about doing, basically we will help students or others about their own vocation. So this is what they call, about the ecology of the self, ecology of the self. So multi-faith chaplaincy will help students, others to have more clearly with their own vision, virtue, and vocation. And then how to, to do the multi-faith chaplaincy into the practices. So I suggest two alternative practices. The first one is spiritual direction. Once again, I think for us as Asians, spiritual directions is not familiar, among seminaries and school of theology, or a faculty of theology, because we study more about pastoral care and counseling instead of spiritual direction. And spiritual directions, what is spiritual direction? So I raise Peterson's definitions, that spiritual direction is the act of paying attention to God, calling attention to God, being attentive to God in a person or circumstances or situations. It notices the invisibilities in and beneath and around the visibilities. It listens to the silences between the spoken sounds. So spiritual directions is not psychotherapy and it's not a pastoral counseling. I think for our brothers and sisters from Catholic traditions, all of you is more, understand for spiritual directions instead of from the non-Catholic Protestant or whatever your denominations. I think spiritual directions can be used, to help students to build, their own spirituality. And then the second ones, I think, is what I call interspiritual formations. The formations focuses on spiritual experiences, with members of other religious traditions, and at the same time learning about how others understand spirituality, dealing with the self, others, cosmics, and God. These programs, I think, can be designed in various forms, such as retreat. When we talk about retreat, usually we just talk about one spiritual traditions. I think we can create, interspiritual retreats. Also, field trip, interreligious field trip. Also, student interfaith community. For example, in Yogyakarta, we have, if I translate in English, it can be, not a community in Bahasa Indonesia, Simpulse, in which the members are students from Faculty of Theology Duta Wacana, and then Faculty of Theology Sanata Dharma, and then Faculty of Usuluddin Islamic State University. From these three institutions, the students, they can build a student interfaith community. I think this is a good examples, how to build, a multi-faith chaplaincy for the students. That is two practices that I suggest maybe we can discuss, how to do a multi-faith chaplaincy in our context. When we talk about multi-faith chaplaincy, I think we cannot neglect what the concept of interspirituality. At this point, I learned a lot from Win Tisdale. He said that interspirituality is the foundation that can prepare the way for a planet-wide enlightened culture and a continuing community among the religions that is substantial, vital, and creative. Interspirituality is not about eliminating the world-rich diversity of religious expressions. Interspirituality is not rejecting these traditions individually for a homogeneous super spirituality. Interspirituality is not about an attempt to create a new form of spiritual culture. Rather, it is an attempt to make available to everyone all the form the spiritual journey assumes. Interspirituality as a world-changing force is made possible by the openness of people who have a valuable spiritual life, coupled with their determinations, capacity, and commitment to the inner search across traditions. I think from these definitions from Win Tisdale, so we can see that interspirituality is about a way of living in which the spiritual interdependency of religion is not from the religions themselves, but rather with respect for humanity and the cosmos as a total being and reality for living without becoming a universalist. So I hope this will be help us when we try to create multi-faith chaplaincy. That means this not will make us to be a universalist, but in light of interspirituality, multi-faith chaplaincy promotes the race community in the interfaith movement for the emergence of a global spirituality through the openness, mutual trust, goodwill, and generosity of the members of the world diverse traditions. And as Asians, I think we are blessed with the richness of local wisdoms or beliefs, and we have to take into account those for our spiritual journey. So in this point, I like to reverse Peter Pan's statement as Vietnamese theologians. He said that speak of God as the God of universal harmony must bring about communion between Christianity and the diverse Asian religions without homogenizing their distinctive doctrines and practices. In other words, the church must be baptized at the Jordan of Asian religiousness. I think this is a very wonderful statement that inspire us, when we talk about multi-faith chaplaincy as Asian. And then finally, what we have to think more about our team. So I raise 4 points as my closings for my presentations. That the first one, multi-faith chaplaincy is a calling. This is a calling to go beyond the wall, the chapel walls, and across barriers of religions and beliefs. So this is a calling. And the second one, the 3 domains of competency in multi-faith chaplaincy creates interspirituality. We are not talking about religion anymore, but we talk about spirituality. And furthermore, we talk about interspirituality. Especially, I think for young generation, this is very important. And when we create interspirituality as the deepest expressions of religious dimensions of human life. And then the third one, I think the main competency of multi-faith chaplaincy is not only when religion doing ritual, but also when religion creating the meaning of life. And the last one, I think this is very important, that multi-faith chaplaincy becomes an important contribution of Christian universities and colleges to embrace humanity and to build peace world. Yeah, I think all my PowerPoint, my presentations. So I would like to give to Dr. Mercy. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Dr.
Okay.
Stefanus, for your thought-provoking and deep session on this multi-faith chaplaincy. And we have got some questions. We already got some questions in the registration time itself. Some of the questions you have already answered. So we have picked up few questions from there. And the participants also have put questions in the question and answer and the chat boxes. So we have picked some questions. Maybe you can answer some of them. And then if we have time, we can go further. Yuka, can you put that in the slide so that it's easy for him? Yeah, these are the questions which we thought that you can start answering first. First one, how can multi-faith chaplaincy truly emulate the true thrust of Christ's chaplaincy to reach our brothers and sisters beyond our own subjectivity? This is from Thailand. And when does an ongoing process become or reaches perfect spirituality? And what are the indicators that I have become competent in the culture of understanding and care? What are the indicators which shows that I have become competent in the culture of understanding and care? How can interfaith learning support student life? This is another important question. How to look at care from multi-faith perspective? if we start multi-faith chaplaincy, who would you think is the best, who would you think best can lead? Who can lead that? Does it require to be a priest, since chaplaincy in Christian faith is already existing? I think this is from Philippines. So
Okay.
maybe you can start answering these questions, and if we have time, we can take
Okay.
questions.
Okay.
Yeah, over
Yeah.
to you.
Okay. I would like to start with, I think about the second one, because I can see some similarity.
Yeah.
I think when we talk about when does about the ongoing process or its perfect spirituality. Yeah, as I mentioned before, that when we talk about spirituality, it's not about a set of doctrine or spiritual practices, but this is about the process itself. Yeah. So when we ask about the perfect spirituality, it's about how you know a person's try to uh, create create and develop and support their own spirituality. So when he or she try to to process, still ongoing process in his or her life, I think the perfection is in that point. It's not on the certain states that we can reach, because life is dynamics. Life is not static. So the perfect itself is on the ongoing itself. And then when we talk about the interfaith learning support student life, how to look at the care from multi-faith perspective. Yeah, I think for university and colleges, that we are a Christian, we are a Christian university or colleges, but we have to be aware that based on our faith, we serve, through the education, but we have to aware that many students come from many different faith, or maybe also atheists. So this is we have to help them, how to grow in their own faith, but also we try to help all students how to live together. I think how to live more tolerance, how to accept the plurality is the main point of the multi-faith chaplaincy. Yeah, I think this is what we have to learn, because I think when we reflect on Hans Kung statement, this is very important, for young people, how they learned, others' faith and respect, and we have to open that we learned and come to one God, even though we have our own doctrine or our own beliefs. And then when we talk about, okay, I want to go to, if we start a multi-faith chaplaincy, who would you think best can lead? Yeah, I think so. When we talk about multi-faith chaplaincy, I think it's a university or colleges, they have so many different kind, of a chaplaincy, because I think like in my university we have a center, like a unit, for chaplaincy. And when you ask about who will lead, I think they can be a priest or a pastor, but also I think we need a team, a team. But I think the most important thing is not about who, but I think how, how they lead, multi-faith chaplaincy, because I think whoever, a priest or pastor or a teams, I think is very important, how to um how to be open, with others' faith. I think this is the most important point when we start a multi-faith chaplaincy. How to accept them, and also when we have a chaplaincy program, do we include other religions group, students in our program and budget? Based on my experience, 6 years become a chaplain at Dutawacana Christian University. Of course, Dutawacana is a Christian university. I have so many programs for student and staff and lecturer who are Christians or Catholics. But also I have a program and budget for other religion. This is a very important, how we embrace, and build a multi-faith chaplaincy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, Dr. Stefanus,
Yes.
Along with that question, there is one more question
Mhm.
which is related to that question. One second, it's in the question answer. Do you suggest that we need to involve the chaplains or the priests from other faith? And they also ask another question: if the institution is not grounded in their own spiritual identity,
Okay. Okay.
is it advisable
Oh.
to involve other religious leaders in the chaplaincy team?
Mhm, mhm. Okay. In my perspective, I think we can, invite other religious leaders in some program, but not in the institutions, but not in the in institution, but in the many programs we can invite, For example, when I have a program for multi-faith spirituality, I think a couple of years ago. And then in that program, I invite from the Buddhists, from Islam, to sit together and we work together in a program, but not, make them, to be part of the chaplains in my campus. Is this uh, your questions?
Yeah, if the institution does not have a strong spiritual identity,
Mhm.
would
Yeah.
it be wise to engage already into multi-faith chaplaincy,
Yeah.
or should we work first on strengthening our spiritual identity and
Yeah.
grounding?
Yeah, 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 yeah. Of course, we have to, have a strong grounded in our own identity, our own faith traditions, But we have to be open, open to others, Yeah.
Okay, there is one more question. We often live in a religious ecosystem that doesn't support multi-faith togetherness. How Duttavachana Christian University takes a religious stand that promotes multi-faith togetherness despite external pressure that causes us to retreat into religious ghetto?
Yeah, I think when you ask about Tutawacana, I think what we do uh, in multi-faith chaplaincy is more on the various program itself, in the various program itself for other faith traditions. I think we emphasize more on that, That's my question. That's my answer, Spurgeon.
Okay. Can we take one more question? I think it is the question to Stefan. At which point in this multi-faith chaplaincy that Indian spirituality can integrate and benefited from the local wisdom reflected from diverse local beliefs and religions already existing before the coming of foreign religions, bracket Christianity, Islam, Hindu, Buddha, Confucius, etc., to Indonesia, for example. So it's a specific from Indonesian point of view.
Okay. I think like this. I think in many multi-faith traditions, in multi-faith chaplaincy, and also in theological perspective, in Dutawacana, we try to contextualize, a lot into local wisdom. For examples, I did a lot what we call silent walk or meditations, based on Japanese traditions, so not just from Christian traditions, but also from a Japanese tradition. For example, for theological students, once I work with my students, theological students, we work silence in Malioboro. Malioboro is the longest market, traditional market in Yogyakarta, and we try to walk silently, and we try to reflect, what we see, what we feel during that session. So this is a program that I try to contextualize, from Christian traditions and a Japanese tradition, because in Japanese traditions, they have also silent walk. So this is an example, how to do with the other traditions, and especially from the local wisdoms. That is my answer, Spurgeon.
Okay. Thank you. There are lovely questions, and you have dealt it very well. Thank you so much. Before I hand it over to Waiting, I have two announcements. And this is the second webinar in our webinar series on the theme, the Building the Culture of Care. The third one will be in the month of May. I want you to block the date. That's May 20th, Thursday. It's Indian time, 7:30 a.m., Hong Kong time, 10 a.m., and Indonesia time, it's 9, and Korea and Japan time, it's 11 a.m. So you can block the date and time, and we will send you the invitation shortly. The speaker will be Dr. Soo Young Kwon from Korea, and the theme of that third webinar will be Spiritual Life Coaching, Integrating Pastoral Counseling and Spiritual Direction on Campus. So we'll have interesting webinars in the days to come. Please keep in touch with us so that we'll be benefited. And also that we request you to take time to give us the feedback, because your feedback and evaluation is very important. That will help us to design our future programs, because we always consider your feedback as very important. So Yuka has put the link in the chat box, and kindly go into that link and give your feedback. Now I invite our Vice President, Dr. Waiting, to propose a vote of thanks. You are muted, Waiting. Waiting, you are muted.
Yes, coming in. Thank you so much, everyone, joining us for this occasion. And also thank you particularly to Dr. Stefanus Haryono. And I think it's a wonderful webinar series that Spurgeon created, which allowed us to really pause and think about what we are doing, who cares for campus ministry. I think caring for campus ministry means that we care for our students and our colleagues on campus, and through our care for them, we hope that we will contribute a part to bettering our society, our communities. So I think you all ask very good questions. I mean, when I read the questions, I think all of us are thinking seriously about the implication of interfaith chaplaincy to our own institutions, our own identity, and our own faith traditions. And Stefanus has brought out a very beautiful vision of trying to live together. And for that, we have to respect or tolerate at least one another's differences. And some of them are very strong in terms of faith affiliation. So I think that's a wonderful webinar, I feel, and also a wonderful contribution by Stefanus and all the questions that you contributed. I don't think this will be the end, although there are already very good insights provided. But interfaith, living together, cohabitance, is always challenging because nobody likes to be disagreed, and nobody likes the vast difference among us whenever we refer to something, right? But I remember one book with a very heartening topic. Maybe I can end that with his title. That is Not Without My Neighbor. It's by Ariadne Wesley, who also work on interfaith dialogue a lot. Not Without My Neighbor is a reference to, just I simplified his thesis, but I got the meaning as like, when you have a neighbor who has a different faith, and because of all kinds of reasons, the good neighborhood relations is distracted or destroyed by usually political manipulations of the religious difference. And then you became enemies overnight. That was the experience of Pakistan and India that I learned. And that was the instance that Dr. Wesley was referring to. That's painful. I think not without our neighbors is something that could always remind us. No matter the difference, we need our neighbors. We need, if we are going to heaven someday, we need to bring them together with us. Okay, I think I should end here and over to Spurgeon.
Okay, thank you so much. Thank you, Stefanus, once again, and thank you. And I also thank other colleagues of mine in the United Board, Kuni, Victoria, Sarah, and Prayuga. They worked hard as preparation for the webinar. So I thank them also. And I also thank our Executive Vice President, Ricky Chang. Thank you, Ricky, for being with us. And thank you, and we'll see you again in May, on May 20th, for the third series of webinar. And please fill the feedback form, and we'll get your feedback that will help us to design our future programs. Thank you, and have a great day.